screens, and you will see our trainer for today, Marijn. Thank you very much. Welcome. Today, World Metrology Day, 20 May. The theme, before I start, I think, we are recording already. The World Metrology Day with the global theme for the metrology, World Metrology Day is global trade. And one of the things we are looking now at is that global trade is very depending on legal metrology, where we know this already for do I get for what I'm paying for. So if you fill up your car with fuel, you don't even see the fuel, but you have to rely on the indication on the meter. Well, global trade increased significantly in the last decennia. Consequently, there's also a significant increase of travel of goods and of people. In the last few months, we have experienced that our economy is under enormous pressure due to the corona, and global trade depends in that way also on global health. So no global trade if there's no global health. We face that now, that global health is the highest priority in this. So today, Marijn van Vechel, can you tell us more about metrology and global health? So can you tell us about what role does metrology play in global health?
Yeah, so thank you, Kok. Just metrology is the science of measurement. So I'd like to start off with a simple example, but an important example of measurements that are now being done to protect global health, and that's thermometer readings. If you get off an airplane or if you get into an airplane, your temperature is measured to see if you're possibly affected with the coronavirus. So that's a measurement. It's not from a technical perspective the most challenging measurement, but it's a very important measurement. Because imagine you get it wrong. Imagine that it gives a false positive, meaning that your temperature is measured as being over the normal temperature. Then you might not be able to enter a country and you are barred from access, or you have to spend a prolonged period in quarantine. So this is not something you want, but imagine the alternative. Say that you get a false negative. So the thermometer says your temperature is fine, it's normal. You enter the country while in fact you have an elevated temperature, you have a fever, and so you spread this coronavirus to another part of the globe. So this simple thermometer reading, which is done many times a day nowadays in this circumstance, that's really important for protecting our global health. So that's a simple example of the role that metrology measurements play in protecting global health. And what you see is that when it comes to our health, you want to make the best possible decisions. You do not want to get it wrong where your health is concerned. So these decisions, they have to be based in fact, as solid a fact as you can get. So not opinion, solid fact. And how do you get to facts? Well, you get to facts typically by doing measurements. And these measurements have to be reliable. And that's where metrology comes in, because metrology is the science of reliable measurements. So without doing reliable measurements, you cannot get the fact basis to make the important health decisions that we need every day in our own lives, but also on a global scale that world leaders need to make nowadays in order to protect all of our society from this dangerous pandemic. If I can give another example, and that's also a direct connection to trade. It is the enormous trade in protective masks that's nowadays going on. So this is a commodity everybody wants to have. It's important for healthcare professionals. It's also important for ordinary citizens to protect themselves, but also the people around them against infecting them with the coronavirus. So there's a huge demand for these masks, and obviously if there's a huge demand, there will always also be generated a huge supply. So masks are being offered from all the corners of the world, and the question is then, yeah, which are the reliable ones and which are the ones which are slightly dubious, and of course you don't want to get the dubious ones. So there has to be testing there also, but then you have to have reliable tests, and you have to test these masks with reference materials of a known composition, and to see if they are being stopped by the mask, or if some leaks through. So you need the right kind of reference materials, and of course to make them and to certify the composition. That's also the work of metrology institutes like VSL. So we offer also these reference materials to the people who are testing these masks, and in that way also metrology plays an important role in protecting global health.
So in that way, it's very important to know if you have a false approval or a false rejection. That in case you get on the plane in a country and they measure your temperature, you're approved, and you come to another country, you step out, and the temperature is different, and you're refused. So that's very complicated. In that way, it should be comparable.
You're stuck, right?
Yeah, then you get stuck between two countries. For the participants, if you're interested for questions or something like that, you can put them in the chat so that I can take them on board and ask them for Marijn. But Marijn, you're talking now about the way of in prevention, in protection. But is metrology also involved in other ways?
Yeah, it's much broader than just protection. So it's the whole spectrum of everything having to do with global health, with health in general. Metrology plays a role, and that's again because in healthcare we want really to rely on facts. Facts are important to make these very important decisions in healthcare. You don't want to get things wrong when your health is concerned. And if you want to get things right, you should rely on reliable measurements. So it starts already, so the masks are protection, then there is a harmful effect, and metrology can help you protect yourself from that effect. But metrology can also play a role in preventing harmful circumstances to occur. For instance, in air pollution is of course a big factor in global health. It's slightly gone to the background because of the immediate concerns with viruses. But just before the coronavirus hit, we were all concerned about air quality in industrial areas in particular. And I think that's still something which is a long-term concern for humanity. So you want to have regulations on air quality. So you want to know that the air quality is well monitored, and then again you need reference materials to check all your monitoring equipment. Both the terrestrial monitoring equipment and monitoring equipment even from space, from satellites. So this is a huge part where metrology plays a role. My colleague Anna-Rita Beldan will talk more in particular about air pollution in a later webinar for this World Metrology Day. So that's about air pollution. Another example of where metrology plays a role in prevention is also in the harmful effects of light. I mean, light is very beneficial and it allows us to see, but UV light can be very dangerous. UV light from the sun, but also it's used more and more in all kinds of man-made appliances, and then there has to also be regulations on how much UV light or infrared light an appliance can emit, and that's called photobiological safety. And my colleague Paul Dekker will talk about that during this World Metrology Day in a separate webinar. We talked about protection, the breathing masks. Well, if you're in doubt if you have a disease, then you come to the field of diagnosis. And you want to diagnose, and there again, like with the thermometer example, it's very important to make an accurate diagnosis of whether you're ill or not. So thermometers are one way to check if you have a fever. There are other ways. You can, for instance, look at small particles called microvesicles in your bloodstream, which could be an indication that you might unfortunately have a tumor. VSL is conducting research in how to do these measurements of these microvesicles reliably. And Artie van den Nes, one of our scientists, will also give a webinar on that in the theme of this Metrology Day. And then finally, to make the whole spectrum complete, if something does occur and you do have an illness, you want, of course, to get the best possible treatment. So that means getting the right dose of medicine. So for a pharmaceutical industry, accurate weighing, for instance, is very important. But also in things like radiotherapy, you want to give the right dose to kill the cancer cells, but not so much that you damage all the healthy tissue and make the patient unnecessarily ill from the radiation. So radiotherapy metrology is a really crucial factor, and Jacco de Poter, another colleague, will talk about that some more also during this World Metrology Day.
Oh, very clear, very clear. So there's a lot more coming up today.
There's a lot more coming up today. So I would say please stay tuned for all the upcoming webinars.
Just one final question for you. Why is it so important to have these accuracies? Is that necessary if we have a 1.5 meter distance? Do we need then a micrometer?
Yeah, well, I think people are now experiencing that keeping 1.5 meter is already with accuracy is already quite difficult to do that accurately enough. But in all seriousness, there's typically a long chain. So the thermometer, which is used in the airport, that's calibrated against the standard, and the standard is calibrated against the standard, etc., etc. And with each of these checks, each of these calibration steps, you introduce the possibility of error. So the uncertainty keeps on increasing. And it has to be somewhere at the primary source, which is known really accurately. And only then you can guarantee also the accuracy at the end, where the thermometer is actually being used. So in order to get the thermometers with a fit-for-purpose accuracy, we at VSL, where we maintain the national standards for the Netherlands, we have to do our best, extra best, to get the best possible accuracy, because you lose inevitably some along the way. So we have to make it as accurate as possible, so that all the measurements that are done all around the country and all around the world can be done with the accuracy that is needed.
Okay, well, thank you very much for this explanation. Thank you we keep it short in these presentations as what we call the VSL Talks. So thank you very much, Marijn, for having this explanation. Thank you very much for the participants. And one of the most important things now is stay healthy, stay safe. Okay.
Yeah, everybody stay healthy, stay safe. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.